Hey there, boys and girls. We are going to have our shared reading lesson where we go over days 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the entire week's questions and answers. This week, we're supposed to read The Lion and the Mouse, and then also The Donkey in the Lion's Skin. Both of these stories are fables, and if you read the attachment that I put on Edsby like you were supposed to, what makes a story a fable, there's a couple of different things. We call those elements. Elements that make stories fables are characters that are animals, and so you'll notice that both of these stories have characters that are animals. And then fables always have those characters face a problem or a challenge. So in both stories, we have our animals face a problem and a challenge. And finally, probably the most important element of a fable is fables teach you lessons. We call those morals or themes. So lessons that we can learn in everyday life. So it's not exactly about the actual animal and what the animal does, but how we can apply maybe that lesson that the animal learns to our life in the real world. And so we're going to talk about those elements of fables with both of them. On day 1, we were asked to read The Lion and the Mouse, and we had some questions to answer. The first question is, what caused the lion to wake from his sleep? So when we were reading Lion and the Mouse, remember that the mouse woke up and he was hungry. He went to go find something to eat. He was sniffing around for a snack, and then it says, the mouse tried to sneak away. We're on page 9 here. The mouse tried to sneak away, but his tiny shadow crossed the lion's face. The lion woke up and gave a tremendous yawn. How scary all those teeth were. So the reason why the lion woke up is the mouse's shadow crossed and woke him up. So your answer to that first question, what caused the lion to wake up from his sleep? Well, the mouse crossed his path and his shadow woke the lion up. Number 2, why did the lion laugh at the little mouse? Okay, so let's keep reading and see what happens. And so if you remember, the lion wants to capture it. He says, oh, look. He says, I've got me a little snack here. And he's got him by the tail there, right? And so the mouse is begging, like, have mercy on me, please. You're the king of the forest. I'm just a little humble creature. And so he's like building him up, telling him he's the king. And so then he kind of thinks about it for a minute. He says, you're right, said the lion. I am the king of the forest. And since you found me in a good mood, I give you your freedom. And so he ends up letting him go. He's like, oh, thank you so much. You know, I will offer, if you ever need help, I will offer it with all of my heart. Well, that's when the lion laughs. The lion thinks it's funny because he says, how can such a tiny creature help me? Can you help me to hunt? No, answered the little mouse. And so the reason why the lion laughs is because the lion cannot believe that the mouse could help him in any way. And so let's look at number 2. Why did the lion laugh at the little mouse? Because he doesn't believe that the mouse can help him. He's like, you can't help me to hunt. How can a tiny mouse like you help me? He just doesn't believe it's possible. Let's look at the third one. What does the mouse do for the lion when he's caught in the net? So now let's move along. Mouse is, out hunting, and he finds a lion caught in the net. And right away he says, I'll help you, shouted the mouse. And the lion could barely even hear him because he's so tiny, his tiny little shouts. And he says, what can you do, little one? Asked the lion. It's better for you to run away before the hunters return to catch you. So again, he feels like it's just crazy that this little mouse can't help him. But he does help him. He chews the net to set him free. So when we look at number 3, what does the mouse do for the lion when he's caught in the net? He chews it to let it free. It says, a mouse stayed, he climbed in the tree and chewed at the net. His teeth were not as large as the lion, but they were very sharp. And in a short while, the lion leaped from the net, so he chewed him free. Okay, and then the last question from day 1, it says, explain how being generous helps the lion. So this question is important because the lion realizes that right here, when he's holding the mouse, he realizes that instead of eating him for a snack, that maybe he should let him go. Well, so he's being generous by letting the mouse live. Well, later on, that pays off. because later on when he's caught in the net, the mouse returns the favor. He could have just very well left him there, but because lion was generous the first time, mouse repaid that favor. And so then we learn that lesson actually on the very last page. It says, you didn't think I could help you, but an act of kindness is never wasted. So the lesson that we can learn is being kind is never a waste of time. Being kind to anyone. We can always help someone by being kind. So that is something that is never wasted. So don't ever think that you're too good to be kind to somebody or someone's too good to be kind to you. So that last question, how does being generous help the lion? Well, it helps him because it helps save his life. He's generous and lets the mouse go. Therefore, the mouse wants to return the favor and be generous by letting him be free. Let's move on to day 2 of Lion the Mouse. It says, what does the information on page 12 reveal about the lion? So we're lucky that these pages were actually numbered this week. But I did put them on Edsby in case you did not see. On page 12, to go back, I'm going to go back to page 10 and 11. So remember how he catches the mouse right here with his paw, catches his tail, and he's thinking like, oh, yes, I got me a snack. I can't wait to eat it. Well, now look at what is going on here. He no longer has him caught by his little tail. We realize here on page 12 that he's deciding to be nice. He is holding it and thinking like, maybe I should let the mouse go. So our answer, what does the information on page 12 reveal about the lion? It reveals that the lion is actually caring and is thinking about helping save that mouse rather than eat him. So he's actually has a heart and is caring and generous. Let's look at the second one on day 2. Explain how the lion changed from the beginning of the story to the end and explain why he changed. So he changes because at the beginning, he thinks that he's too good for help. He says, how can you help me, little mouse? If you remember right here, he says, you're just a humble little creature. How can you help me? And then at the end, he realizes that that help pays him off because he's freed. Okay, so then we realize that he is able to be helped. And so on that last page, we realize that the kindness is never wasted no matter what. So day 2, how does the lion change from the beginning of the story to the end? Well, he changes because in the beginning, he feels like he doesn't need any help. In the end, he realizes he does need help. So he goes from being thinking about being selfish and eating the mouse to then being generous and saving the mouse. And why does he change? Well, he changes because he realizes that when he actually accepted the kindness from the mouse, that helped him realize that being kind is never wasted, that it's an important thing to be kind and to be generous. And don't ever think that someone's too good to be kind or generous to you. And then what are the elements that make this a fable? So if you read the directions in the beginning, here's your answer right here. Fables include animals that act like humans. Fables are meant to teach a lesson about life. They have characters that overcome a problem, and they're short stories. So this is a fable because it's a short story. This is a fable because it has animals as characters. They teach us a lesson about life or our moral, right, to be kind to others. And then those characters did overcome a challenge and problem. So that's day 2. We're going to go on now to day 3. Day 3 focused on a different fable, the donkey in the lion's skin. So in this text, we had a foolish donkey, and that donkey thinks that he's going to be funny. Foolish being silly or funny, right? He finds this lion's skin, and he wants to wear the lion's skin. He says, what fun it would be to scare the other animals, the foolish donkey says with a laugh. And so he puts on the costume. Just a minute, Mason, okay? Mommy's making a video. He puts on the costume and he goes around and tries to start scaring everybody. And so he's scaring all of these people and animals away. And he's like thinking it's so funny, right? They think that this donkey is a lion. And so he's watching them all run away and he's pleased. He's laughing and thinking that it's hilarious. So when we go to day 3, we talk about what are the elements that make this a fable. Well, again, we have a short story. We have animals here that are our characters. Are animals actually facing a problem or a challenge? he thinks he's being funny by putting on that costume. He thinks it's going to be fun to be somebody different, but actually he realizes that when he puts on that costume, it's not fun at all. He actually is scaring the other animals away. And so we end up learning a lesson. And that lesson that we learn is actually on that last page. So he lets out that bray, and then the fox realizes when he lets out that bray or that sound, he realizes that it's the donkey in disguise. He's like, a lion's not going to make that kind of sound and not going to bray like that. And so he says, take that silly costume off, you foolish donkey. You look like a lion, but the way you bray, you can only be a donkey. And so it says the donkey could fool some of the animals with his disguise, but his silly brain showed who he really was. So we learned that this donkey needs to just be himself. And don't try to be a mean, scary lion. It's not always so great to be somebody else. When he dressed up like a lion, he scared everybody. So that wasn't a positive thing. He learns just be true to yourself. And so let's look at our questions here. So we already went over number 1, the elements that make it a fable, right? We have the short story, we have the animal characters, we have that challenge, and then that lesson we learn is to be yourself. Number 2, why does the donkey decide to put on the lion's skin? If you remember, the donkey decides to put on the lion's skin because he thinks it's going to be funny. He says, go back here to page 8. He says, what fun it would be to scare the other animals away. So he thinks it's going to be funny, so that's why he puts it on. How does the fox know that the donkey is not really a lion? So remember, he knows it's not really a lion because he lets out a bray. He gets so pleased with himself, he lets out a bray. That's the sound that the donkeys make. And the clever fox realizes that it's the donkey trying to play a trick. And he says, take that costume off, you foolish donkey. So he realizes it is in fact not the lion at all. It is the donkey. Okay, so how's fox know donkey is not really a lion? Because he lets out a bray. And then how does the donkey change from the beginning of the fable to the end, and explain why he changed? So at the beginning, he thinks it's going to be funny to be the lion. He thinks that's going to be cool. So he's excited about it. So he dresses up and goes scaring people. He's having fun. And then at the end, he realizes, no, it's better to just be himself. Why does he change? Well, because when he dresses up and scares everybody, he realizes that that's actually not so fun after all. So that's why he changes and decides to be himself. Now we're going on to day 4 questions. These were your required questions for your reading assignment for this week. So this is where you're comparing and contrasting both of the fables. So how are the lion and the mouse and the donkey and the lion's skin similar? Well, if you mentioned that they both include a lion in some way, then that would be correct, right? Because there is a lion in the first text, there is a lion's skin in the second text. If you said that they both have animal characters, that would be correct. If you said that both of them had morals or lessons that we could learn, that could be correct. You could also mention their short stories with animal characters that face a challenge. So there's lots of different things that make these fables similar, that make all fables similar. Number 2, how are the lion and the mouse and the donkey and lion's skin different? So the biggest difference obviously are the characters are going to be different, right? We have a mouse here and a donkey here. Another difference is that the mouse and the lion end up realizing the importance of being kind to each other. And then the donkey in the lion's skin, donkey thinks that he's being funny, right, by dressing up in that lion skin. But really those characters are very different. And then the lessons that we learn are different, right? In this first text, we learn the importance of being kind. And in the second text, they learn the importance of being yourself, which actually kind of goes down to this last one. How do both fables use different stories to teach similar lessons? In both lessons, the animals are themselves. They are true to themselves. So the lion is generous, the donkey ends up being true to himself. And so we can understand the importance of being true to ourselves, but they're just told in different ways through different stories, right? Because in the donkey text, he learns to be true to himself by scaring off everybody when he was not himself. He realizes by living in someone else's shoes, it's not so great. So you should just be honest to yourself. And then in the first text, They learn the importance of being true to yourself or kind to one another by working together. And that when you are really yourself, then someone else will repay the favor and be kind to you. So that's it. That is our answers to our questions for our text this week. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Miss you guys. Bye.